Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. We have a very interesting show for you today. We're going to talk about a topic that a lot of betting shows do not talk about, and that's bet sizing. And we're going to introduce the concept of the Kelly Criterion to you. That's an advanced betting concept, and we won't spend a whole lot of time on it. But I hope I've broken things down for you that won't be too confusing or too difficult to follow. Try not to make it too mathy. But before we get into the lesson today and talk about bet sizing or get into this weekend's games, we're going to update our bankroll like we always do. And I lost my wide shot today, so we're going to start right on this page. Last week we had a starting bankroll of $480, and we had the Titans minus 3.5, and that was a winner. They scored a touchdown in overtime to win by 6, plus $16 to the bankroll, and you'll notice the plus 1 next to the $16, and that's because we beat the closing line of minus 4. And then we had the Packers money line, which was a loser. The Packers gave up 38 unanswered points to lose 38-10. That's minus $16 to the bankroll. But we did beat the closing line on the money line there, so plus 1 for us there. And then on Monday at 5 o'clock, we had the Bills under 57.5 against the Chiefs. I think they scored 43 points total. It was an easy sweat for us, plus $15 to the bankroll. And once again, a plus 1 for beating the closing line. I believe it was 57. It might have been 56.5 because of the bad weather, but we did beat the closing line there. So we had a perfect week against the closing line. We got 2 out of 3 wins. Net profit of $15 to the bankroll. That makes our new bankroll $495. And dividing by 30, as we always do, we're calculating our bet size. And this is how we've been doing it since the show started. This is our 3rd season of the podcast, and because we're selective sports bettors, we divide by 30 and we come up with a bet size of $17. So our bets for this weekend are going to be $17 each. And my count, for those of you that don't know what the count is, I started that a few weeks ago, and I've kept track since the beginning of the NFL season. We keep a plus 1 if we beat the closing line, a 0 if we tie the closing line, and a minus 1 if we get a worse number than the closing line. So our count is now at plus 7 after having a 3-for-3 week there. So that's a very impressive number, I think. And there are very few sports betting programs that will discuss that particular factor. Whether or not it has ultimate value is to be decided, but I think it's a neat little stat. So today we are going to talk about bet sizing. And simply stated, bet sizing is using a method for determining your bet size. So as you just saw, we divided by 30 of our available bankroll. On this podcast, we use a simple method for determining bet size, available bankroll divided by 30. And the reasoning behind this method, number 1, we acknowledge that we are selective, aka low volume sports bettors, that we're not betting. I'm betting maybe 5 wagers a week, and there are people that might bet 5 wagers an evening or more, and there are good and bad reasons for doing so. The good reason is you have a super duper model and you have a very accurate prediction model, and you can make wagers with high expectations. A bad reason is you're chasing your losses, or you're just making too many bets and you're fighting too much of the juice that the book charges. It's too much of a hill to climb. With a very low risk of ruin, our method that we've used on the show here, risk of ruin means going broke. Using this methodology that I created for the show, we'll always have enough bankroll to move on to the next week, win or lose. So, I started with $750. We're at $500. We've been kind of going up and down. I've been back up to $750. I've been down as low as below $400, I think, at some point. But the idea being, that win or lose, we adjust our bet size every week, so we always have 30 bets to work with. We're only risking 3.3% of our bankroll on any one wager. And that's, I think, a very solid plan for beginning sports bettors. And it's something that, we set aside money for sports betting, and that money is not being used for any other activity. It may be in the bank account earning interest or whatever, but it's earmarked for that one activity. And we're prepared to go forward, win or lose, with that money that's earmarked, and that's how we adjust our bet size. So things can get a little more complicated than just doing the method that we do on the show here by saying, okay, we're low volume bettors, so we're going to, divide by 30 or divide by 40 or divide by 25 or whatever. While low risk bet sizing is good for beginners, experienced bettors realize that bankroll is a tool to be used for maximizing probability. And what this means is, in a purely theoretical world, which we would like to transfer to reality, each bet size would be different because each wager has a different expectation versus the market. So we talk about being a value bettor. If you find a bet that's a tremendous value, you want to put more money into it because the bet is paying higher than the expectation of what it should pay. And how do we know that we're getting a good value? Well, in order to measure the size of a potential wager, we'll need, number one, a prediction model that is reasonably accurate. And that's a very difficult thing to obtain. For our purposes of examples, we can use things like coin flips that we know are 50-50 or relatively very, very, very close to 50-50. And then number two is obviously enough bankroll to cover the bet size. If you have a bet that has a big edge and you want to bet it and you want to bet it big, you got to make sure you have enough bankroll to cover that. And then obviously number three is the Kelly Criterion calculator, and that'll help you determine your edge on the wager. Now, if you're looking at me and saying, what the hell is the Kelly Criterion? Well, we're going to talk about it right now, and then we're going to use a couple of examples. And I hope I don't blow your brain, because I'm not going to get into the actual Kelly formula. I'm not going to get into the math of it. I'm going to try to explain what it is. You can look it up on your own, and we'll go forward. Let's see if I don't screw this up too bad. So, Kelly Criterion wagering. The Kelly Criterion was developed in 1956 by John Kelly. It is a mathematical formula for determining bet size or investment size, if you're talking about stocks, based on the probability of event outcomes. It is considered a very aggressive and very effective method of bankroll growth. It has been proven to be the most successful formula to date on how to grow your bankroll. So why doesn't everybody do it? Well, there's several reasons why. Number one is it's very high risk. It's high risk, high reward. And if you bet full Kelly, you'll hear people say full Kelly, half Kelly, 10% Kelly. If you follow the formula 100%, if it says to bet 66% of your bankroll and you do it, believe me, you can lose a huge chunk of your bankroll on one wager, and it's very risky. So you'll hear some very experienced bettors saying, I use a Kelly formula, but I only use 20% Kelly or 33% Kelly or 50% Kelly. But the idea is the more of an edge that you have perceived in a wager, the more of your bankroll you should bet. And if you have no edge in the wager, you shouldn't bet anything. So here it says the higher your probability of winning, while odds remain static, the more your bankroll should be bet. So, for example, you have a Team A and Team B. It's a 50 pick'em proposition. Each one's minus 110. Well, if Team A is 70% to win the game in your probability and Team B is only 30%, well, the odds are out of whack, and you should be betting on the side that has the 70% probability of winning. How much should you bet? Well, the calculator will determine that. So conversely, if the probability of winning is very low, it is most likely that the odds do not pay enough to justify a wager. And let's use a Kelly calculator to look at examples. And let's see if I can find that Kelly calculator and bring it up right here. So here we go. We're on a website that I'm not going to name, but we're using their Kelly calculator. And let me just move it down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do our first example. Number of events won. Starting bankroll, 100% of our bankroll. The odds are minus 110. We're going to say that's okay. And the win percentage. Now, if it's a true coin flip and it's 50-50, we're going to put 50% odds in the calculator. And the betting odds are minus 110. And then we're going to say calculate. And the result is 0 at the bottom of the screen. You see 0.0000%. It's because there's not expected value in betting that true coin flip at minus 110. In other words, if you should not bet the coin flip of the Super Bowl because there's no expected value there. However, let's go to our example that you have two teams both at minus 110, but you think one team is 70% chance to win. So let's put that in and calculate the Kelly. And it says you should put 37% of your bankroll on the team that's 70% projected to win. Now, that's the formula for aggressive bankroll growth. Once again, it's a very high-risk wager. If your model does predict that outcome accurately, there's still 30% of the time where that wager loses. So you have to be wary. So now let's do like kind of a reverse example where we think a team is 66% to win and the odds are minus 150. Okay, we're going to calculate the Kelly there, and you can see it says 15%. Okay, it's saying you should wager 15% of your bankroll on that particular. What if the odds were minus 200? Let's calculate again. It's 0. So you can see how a slight change in the odds can give your bet an expected advantage or a 0 advantage. So let's just, kind of go up and down the scale. Let's see what happens if we go to minus 190. It's 1.4%. So that's kind of like the break point right there. So it was less than 190 and you believe there's 66% to win, then the bet has positive expectation and you should bet something on the game. So now let's look at the other example, an example where a team is only 30% to win a game. Obviously at minus 190, it should be 0 because this team is the underdog by far. So if it's obviously minus 110, it should also be 0. Let's take a look. It's still 0. What about plus 110? Should still be 0. What about plus 150? I bet it's still 0. Yep, it's still 0. Now what about plus 200? We should be getting close. Still 0. What about plus 225? Still 0. What about plus 250? There you go, 2%. Wager 2% of your bankroll on a dog that's plus 250 if they're only 30% to win the game. So now you have to realize that we're talking about money line wagers here and not point spreads. If you use incorporated point spread, you would have to come up with a probability that the team will cover versus the team just winning outright. So it's a very interesting tool, and I feel like it's something that maybe we could talk about in the future. Bet sizing is a very important intermediate step for a sports bettor. Once you get comfortable with your ability to pick bets that have expected value against the market, that have numbers that beat the closing line, and then you can start using your bankroll as a tool to help you grow. So, this show has been going on for as long a time as it has, 100 episodes or so. And we've only been, in here on Friday mornings talking about the lines that are available on Friday morning. We haven't talked about line shopping. We haven't talked about we have talked about when is the best time to bet, or for sports that are offered on a daily basis versus a weekly basis versus once a year. There's a lot of factors involved, and we'll work through those intermediate tools as we go along in the process here. But I wanted to talk a little bit and dip our toe in the pool of the Kelly Criterion, and get people to think about not just what they're going to bet on, but how much they should wager and why they should wager more, or why they should wager less, or why they shouldn't wager at all. And it's a discussion that's really not had enough in the sports betting media, and I just felt like talking about it today. So that's today's lesson. I hope it didn't confuse everybody too much. I hope you got something out of it, and let's move on to the week in football and NFL Week 7. And the Bills have lost 2 in a row, but the Jets have lost 6 in a row. So we have the Bills 12-point favorites over the Jets in the Meadowlands. 45 is the total. I have the Bills as 14-point favorites. 40.58 is my model. My model all of a sudden is liking overs. It has finally adjusted. My recency weight, it hasn't changed in the spreadsheet that I use, but it's like it's caught up to the trend of higher scoring. So I don't really know. I assume Joe Flacco is playing. I don't think Darnold is back. But if Darnold was back, I really like the over here. But I would not touch I feel like the Bills will have a bounce back game, but it seems like the Jets always keep them close. One game of the year. I feel like this is going to be it. I don't know. I'm going to pass on that game. Packers at the Texans. Texans 3.5 dogs at home. A lot of home dogs this week. 57 is the total. I have it at plus 487, 56.10. So my model likes the Packers. My model loved the Packers all season long. They lost last week. It was a trap game. It was a bad performance by Rodgers. This game is not any easier than last week's game. I certainly wouldn't be laying the points here. I'm not sure about the total. It's right on for my projections say there. So I feel like it's kind of a pass for me. The game of the week, well, there's 2 games I really want to watch this week, and this is one of them. Steelers at the Titans. Currently, Titans are 1-point favorite. 50.5 is the total. I have the Titans as about a half a point favorite, 53.08. I feel like the over here is a play you want to keep an eye on. I expect that number to go up to at least 51. So I feel like at 50.5 that this is a number worth betting on. These teams can score points, and you feel like it's going to be that 28-23 type of game. So 28-24. There's just too much offense on the field. I don't think either team is going to want to shorten the game a whole lot. So we'll have to see how it goes. Browns at the Bengals. My model likes the Bengals here. Plus 3 at home. They're 3-point dogs. 50 is the total. I have them at plus 2.67, 50.97. The total's pretty much right on. Spread's pretty much right on. It's kind of a trap game for the Browns. Really depends on how healthy Baker Mayfield is. You could tell that the offense was not in sync with him out, and it wasn't in sync with him in and not healthy. So it really comes down to how healthy you think Baker Mayfield is. But based on what my model says, I would lean towards the points there. Lions at the Falcons. Interesting matchup to me. Matt Patricia's kind of playing for his job. Falcons 2.5 at home. I have them as 3.25 favorites. So the model says, hey, take the Falcons at home. The total's right on there, 55 points. It's, both of these teams have secondary issues. I like points to be scored in this game, but I think it's too close to where it's supposed to. The number's too right on. And then we got the Cowboys at the football team. Football team is -1. 46 is the total. And then I have the Cowboys as 1.82 favorites, and 49.51 is the total. I feel like the over is a play here. And my model liking the Cowboys over for probably the first time this season. It's like the under every week, and everybody's worried the Cowboys can't score points now because Ezekiel fumbled a couple of times last week. Expect a Cowboys bounce-back game here. The Redskins really have nothing to play for. I don't know. I mean, they're playing for Riverboat Ron. He's fighting cancer, but is Kyle Allen up to the task? Is he? Do you expect he's a guy that's going to feast on the Cowboys defense? We'll have to see. We'll have to see if McCarthy's righted the ship and gotten his locker room back. But I do like the Cowboys to win this game. I mean, these guys are – you saw with the Eagles and the Giants last night, all of these teams are competing for this division title, and they're 2-4 and 1-4, 1-5, and they're all in it. They're all within one game of each other going into this weekend. So it's a big game for them. I expect them to be up for it. Continuing on with the picks of the week, we got the Jaguars at the Chargers, -7.5. I have the Chargers at almost 9.5-point favorites in this game. 49 is the total. I have it at 45, so my model likes the under. It always comes down to how much the Jaguars are going to score. And it's tough to tell week to week. The Chargers defense is supposed to be legit, so I would lean under here. But I like the Chargers to cover the spread according to my model. I don't like laying more than a touchdown unless it's like the Chiefs. We'll talk about next. But it's just not strong enough a play for me to warrant that right now. Chiefs at the Broncos, plus 9.5, 46 is the total. I have the Chiefs as 11.25 favorites. That's about 2 points to the Chiefs. And 47.39, so my model likes the over. And I feel like after the rainy game in Buffalo, I feel like the Chiefs bounce back. This is going to be a divisional game. Drew Lock has actually impressed me since he's become a starter. I don't know if he's ever going to be an upper echelon guy, but he's a formidable quarterback, adequate. I like points being scored here. I feel like, it's not going to be even if the Chiefs roll, it's not going to be 35-7. I feel like the Broncos are going to get their 20, 25 points. So I like the over here. Even though my model only has it 1.5 points over what the line is. 49ers at Patriots. -2 for the Patriots, 44.5. Patriots have really gotten an amazing... they had some tough opponents early in the season, but they've gotten a lot of home games recently and have not really taken advantage. And they're a 2-point favorite in this game pretty much because the game is in New England. I have the game as pretty much a coin flip, and the total's right on. But if you can get a good number on San Francisco, if you can get 3 points +3, or you get a good money line number, I'd consider it. They had a really bad game last week, and I think they'd bounce back. Or they actually won last week. I'm talking about 2 weeks ago. They had a really bad game. They bounced back against the Rams at home, and then you're going to hear all this trend talk about West Coast teams going east for an early game and all that kind of stuff. San Francisco's starting to get healthy, and the Patriots still have some holes to fill, I think. So this could put them in dire straits for the division. So it really is a must-win game for New England. They've got to keep pace. And then Monday, wait, we still got one more here. Seahawks and Cardinals, the Sunday night game. This game I really want to see. That West Division of the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. All four of those teams are playoff caliber teams. And they've got to play each other, and they're going to beat each other up, which is why I put my future on the Packers, because I thought they could back their way into a bye. But this is going to be, I think, the toughest test for the Seahawks so far. On the road against a pretty healthy Cardinals team that is gelling, that, DeAndre Hopkins has just been a monster pickup for them. Kyler Murray has impressed me. He's done better than I thought he would, to be honest. And I feel like these teams are very similar, except Seattle's a little better of a rushing team and Cardinals are a little better of a passing team. 56, my model says 51.77. I can't, the Seahawks have been averaging like 30-something points a game. I can't bet an under on them right now until I see them have a 14-point game. It's like even last week with the Minnesota Vikings, they still ended up scoring 27 points. And then Monday night we have the Bears at the Rams, minus 5.5, 45. I've seen that at 6. I have them at minus 4.5. So that's a full point and a half to the Bears. The Rams stadium is beautiful. I don't know how much of home field advantage they really have without a crowd, but my model likes the under in this game, and I feel like both of these defenses are legit, and I feel like a lot of field goals are going to happen. And I don't feel like McVay is necessarily aggressive enough in the middle of the field. We'll see if he changes his ways. But this is a number that I think this 45, I think, is going to go up as we get closer to Monday. I did not put this on my picks this week, but if that number goes to 46, 46.5, 47, I'm betting the under on Monday night for sure. So keep that in your back pocket. That didn't make my picks, but that's our short list of NFL games this week. And let's see what we got. Let's load it up. So for my picks this week, I am going to hold my nose and take the Cowboys money line. I'm not bothering taking the +1. It's kind of pointless to do that in the NFL, as they'll probably end up losing by 1, minus 107 on the money line. I feel like that's a fair price. My model likes them better to win, and I'm getting a little better price on them than the other team. I'm going to take the Chiefs and the Broncos over 46. I feel like this number is going to go up as it gets closer to Sunday. Minus 106, still a good price there. The Chiefs can score points. We know that. I think the Broncos are going to score 20, 21 at least here. I could be very wrong, but let's hope that Melvin Gordon is not out. Anyway, the passing game with Drew Lock is much improved for the Broncos. And then I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals plus 3.5 against the Seahawks. I'm really impressed with the Cardinals. I feel like this is going to be a competitive game. I'm paying minus 115 for the privilege of getting that extra half a point, but very worth it. Very worth it. I like this the Cardinals team to give Seattle their first loss. The money line is pretty juicy. Last time I looked, it was plus 155. If you think the Cardinals are going to win outright, you might want to put a little money on that as well. But for the purpose of the show, we're going to take the spread, and we're going to try to get some more winners here this week and keep that momentum going. So thank you for tuning in and talking about bet sizing and a little preview of the weekend in football. The Orange are going to take on number 1 Clemson. This will probably be all blood red next week. I hope they don't lose. I think Clemson's favored by 46 points. I hope they don't lose by too many. But enjoy your weekend. It's a beautiful day here in the Finger Lakes. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll be back next week with another episode. So let me play the outro music for you, and let's get some winners, people. Take care.